I'll take camping for $1,000, Alex. An essential sleeping item that goes in your tent that is almost as essential as the tent. What are sleeping bags? Durable dads, brothers from other mothers, and sisters from different misters, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already guessed, today's Back to Basics episode is all about, you guessed it, sleeping bags. Okay, sleeping bags come in an almost dizzying array of price points, style, and functionality. So one of the main concerns you have if you're reestablishing your kit like I am is, what are you going to need in terms of a sleeping bag? Are you going to need a mummy bag? Are you going to need a standard envelope style, down-filled, synthetic, you name it? There's a lot of different options for different environments. All right, so when I purchased them, and we're going to be reviewing and unbagging the Woods brand Canmore series, good to 0 degrees. And when I unbag them, I'll tell you why I made these decisions. Okay, well, it behooves you, if you're a car camper beginner, reinserting yourself into outdoor living like I am, sleeping bags are an essential part of your kit. Now, what am I going to be using it for is one of the questions. Well, for the most of the part, I'm looking for something 3 seasons. Functionality and price point are important because really these are foundational items. And I haven't had enough time in my journey at this time in my life to figure out what exactly I'm going to be needing down the road. So a good place to start with is with a standard envelope style that at least give you 3 seasons of use. Okay, I'll go through more of the specifics when I unbag them, but you know what? I understand that having a sleeping bag is pretty much essential unless you want to sleep on the ground with no coverage whatsoever. Yeah, you can get away with some blankets and some bedding if you so desire, but you know what? Any good kit's going to have a decent sleeping bag. All right. And as a family person, you're going to want to probably, and my recommendation here is you're going to want to have the option to machine wash away bad decisions. Okay, when you're camping, the possibility of somebody having too many s'mores, or, conversely, too many beers, or ultimately, worst case scenario, having too many s'mores and too many beers, something bad's gonna happen. So one of the major decisions as a family guy is the understanding that you're gonna want to be able to clean up bad things and eventualities that are probably gonna happen. So I opted for something machine wash. Okay, again, you know what? This is generalist kind of thing, and I bought in the generalist frame of mind. So I'm very happy with what I did. We are going to get to unbagging them in a second, but I would like to point out that I'm sitting here in the hot sun, and today's going to be a cooker. I think 37 degrees Celsius, which is about 110 or ish for those folks south of the border that I'm talking to. So it's ironic that a sleeping bag, an insulated sleeping bag, no doubt, is going to be both unveiled and put to the test. Hopefully, I'm going to be crashing in there tonight and not cooking to death. So anyways, let's get to what I got and my reasoning as to why. Catch you next clip. We're going to unbag these suckers. These are the Woods Canmore sleeping bag series, good to 0 degrees Celsius. Okay, Camp Adventure. All right, these are insulated and they are nylon. I went with synthetic for the whole entire purpose of having something that's machine washable, which makes sense. Now, having to replace gear that's been lost to time forces me to kind of start back at the beginning, okay? And the reason why I got this is, well, it could be a mummy bag, but it's not. Mummy bags are great, specifically for the purposes of if you're doing something a little bit more extreme and really need the heat and the warmth. Let's get these suckers unwrapped here. So, and you're on some kind of snowy mountainside, or and it's just a couple of sheets of nylon. Nice bag. Roll that back up, a little carrying case. That where it's a couple of thin pieces of nylon, a little bit of insulation that's going to keep you from your imminent demise and the ravages of privation. This is not the case for me. So I ended up getting this because it's an envelope style. I don't like mummy bags. Will use them if I have to, but I don't want to feel claustrophobic for no reason whatsoever, especially if I'm not going to be doing anything extreme. Okay, the envelope style is, yeah, they're a bit bulkier, and you're not going to be packing these in anywhere. Again, these go in the tent that's still set up in the backyard, waiting its inaugural voyage. I'm going to be testing that tonight, so good luck. Ironically, with these suckers that are pretty well insulated, and it's going to be super hot even overnight. Anyways, I got the envelope style simply because they can be unzipped and they can be used as a blanket or as a full envelope sleeping bag. Okay, I'm going to do a tartan ID and see, I don't know what tartan this is. Anyways, I went with Woods brand because I went to Canadian Tire, which has a long history of providing entry level to good camping gear, and entry level is what I want. I want something that I can unzip and use as a blanket, or for comedy effect or cuddling or whatever. For kids, even, you can zip these two together and make something extra big. Okay, this is going to work for most of the conditions that I will have. The price point, about 100 bones. I ended up getting this because it was on sale, this brand, with 25 off. So that ended up costing me $75 a piece, which isn't bad for something brand new that I could probably use 3 seasons. I'm going to probably be doing some winter camping this season, but that'll be, or this year, but that'll be for with borrowed gear. So let's keep this. Okay, there's 2. Kiddo already has hers. So this is the new one. I like the feel of it. It's comfortable. Machine wash for sure. Now, this is nylon and probably going to be more than I need. But heck, I'd much rather sweat to death. You can take this off and go for something a lot thinner in the heat. But when it gets to be fall or you're having an awfully cold night, this is going to save your bacon. Okay, and you want to be rested because you know what, you have to perform dad duty in the morning, so you want a good night's sleep. Went with Woods because Woods is a Canadian brand that's has a long history in Canada, I think about 100 years. So it's well known and well respected. It's middle of the road, maybe entry level to middle of the road kind of gear. I didn't want to go with something cheap that I'm going to only use 2 or 3 times. And that's it, kick it to the curb. So this is another piece of the essential kit. I'm slowly working my way through. I've got the tent, you've seen that. Now these suckers, also essential. I happen to have air mattresses which will work in a pinch. I'll be setting those up a little bit later. And then next up would probably be camp stove. I need to replace my old stuff that is suspect. But anyways, big cornerstone right here. They're nice to look at. They're relatively lightweight. They'll do in a pinch for most of the camping. If it gets cold, I'm going to get spring, summer, fall out of these suckers. Machine washable, again, to get regrets out. And life choices. So there we go. I don't have the space to be able to completely unwrap this sucker and lay it out, but I will. That'll be next up. But yeah, my reasoning were price point, availability, machine washable. I didn't go with down. Down's great, very warming, but you get that wet. It takes forever to dry. So down is also more expensive and unnecessary for the amount of use and abuse that I'm going to be putting it through for sure this season. Anyways, let's get to laying these suckers out and getting the tent prepped and see how this looks. Catch you next clip. Okay, before I head into the 33 degrees Celsius sweat lodge and set myself up for the night, thought I'd leave a little pro tip here. First off, the tent that awaits me made of nylon. The sleeping bag that's going to go in there, also made of nylon. Now, you may or may not be aware of this, but nylon on nylon is pretty slippery, and it's a slide fest. So I'm lucky because I have a couple of air mattresses that are ready. But you know what? If you're going to go, camping mats also can be covered with nylon. So synthetic material in general on synthetic material is a recipe for slipping and sliding yourself into a bit of a nightmare. Be aware of this, plan accordingly. We're about to head into the sweat lodge. Okay, got the other one just for perspective. And let's head in. Okay, first of all, I don't like this configuration, so let's change it up. So I am going to sleep on the Woods brand, the air mattress tonight, and not the Ozark Trail one. So the Ozark is a little more entry level brand, and you can tell the difference right now between the construction, just size and comfort level. Don't want to do this. Let's move this over like so, and then slide this way. Leave some room to get at the pouch. All right, let's set these up. I haven't even cut the tags off. We'll put that one on the other one for now. Ta-da! Now I'm going to want to come at this from the other side. So it looks like the burrito has to be wrapped backwards. That's fine, this will work. Okay. I have identified the tartan, which is kind of cool. I'll do a graphic and tell you what it is. I can't think of it off the top of my head. There we go. I'm set up. For reference, there it is. That's pretty bulky. There's the other one. Now, fully packed up like this, I guess the weight is just under 7 pounds and fairly bulky, so this is not something you're going to want to throw in your backpack and hike in. However, coming out of a car, whipped into the tent, which is also not something you're going to want to pack in. Unroll these bad boys, pump these suckers up, and you're rocking and rolling. Anyways, I am sweating to death in here. Let's cut this short. Okay, kids, there you have it. You'll notice a little bit of a perspective change. Thought I'd show myself a little bit of love and sit in the shade instead of out in the merciless sun. It's about 36, 37 degrees Celsius. And I got a little carried away with my Fahrenheit math. So really it's around 100 degrees Fahrenheit for you Americans before I get called out. Anyways, it's damn hot. And the irony is still sticking with me that I set up the tent in the same type of weather. And that was a hot, sweaty event. And I'm shooting this video in the same kind of weather. I'm going to crash in it tonight to give it a real test. So the sleeping bag is rated to -10, so it's double insulated, which I know I live in Canada and we can have the weather. However, it's going to be a hot, sweaty night. So, but anyways, what I do for views. So let's wrap this up. So The sleeping bags have been bought. Having human-sized burrito wrappers is an important part of any kit. The sleeping bags I've got are middle of the road quality. Again, the price point was $100, so be prepared to spend that. It's Woods brand, which is available pretty much anywhere. Canadian Tire, Atmosphere, Sport Check, the Canadian companies. Now, for you, my viewers in the US or the Pacific Northwest, you guys might not have availability of Woods product. It's good. My air mattress is also Woods. I find it's durable and rugged. Decent, a little bit more money than entry level. Also not super expensive and high end because I don't need that yet. These are bulky, 7 pounds. They're not going to be, again, something that you pack in. Not to reiterate myself, but that's important. So my reasoning for getting it is because it's got ripstop. It's machine washable. It's insulated for 3-season camping, which is the most I'm going to do. Some winter camping, but again, that would be with borrowed gear, going with people that are better equipped than I. So, and also it's family proof. You can wash them. You can have an accident and still clean them up and be reusing them. Again, it's not a mummy bag. I personally don't like feeling claustrophobic. And if you have to get up and you have a middle of the night trip, which is inevitable, to the outhouse. Now, there's mummy bags, there's envelopes, standard size, and everything under the sun. Heck, there's even wearable sleeping bags. Don't even take me there, because but I got the standard. Perfect for car camping, perfect for weekend warrior. Warm enough to do all that you need it to do in our weather for the most part. A lot of the weekend warriors or families are going to have a hard time. You dads are going to have a hard time getting your kids to come out in anything more remotely resembling 0 degrees. So unless they're hardcore, so you don't have to worry about the extreme weather kind of stuff. Again, you're not doing anything that's going to put anybody in the danger of privation. This is your basic setup, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's a good looking bag. It's going to be hotter than heck. It's machine washable. The price point was amazing. It's readily available. So $100 is not bad. The sale price, again, $25 off, so $75. I'm very happy. That beats any of the more entry-level stuff. And I plan on having this a couple of years. And even if I'm not using it regularly, it's going to be part of the kit backup for many years to come. So Woods brand works for me. Found that at a Canadian Tire. I found the tent at Costco. These are easy to find equipment that doesn't have to be super flashy. I'm not a gear bro. I'm not going out there, trying to prove something. I'm not 20 something. So for the cases of dads with kids, or you're just getting out solo and reclaiming and easing yourself in, there's the stuff that you need if you're going to camp outside of sleeping in the vehicle, which is possible. But a tent, you're going to want sleeping bags. Camp stove, that's coming up. I'm going to do some wheeling and dealing with my old camp oil stove to get something a little newer and go a little less vintage. So that's probably my next review. And then the utensils and little pieces. And then for the most part, I'm set up to go camping and give you some field reports. Anyways, I hope this was informative. I really appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to sort of not basting in my own juices tonight, but having us asleep and testing out the sleeping bag and the tent. It's going to be wonderful. Anyways, I'm out here, as always, as promised, keeping the coffee warm and the gear dirty. So feel free to hit that subscribe button if this provided some useful information. I've got a bunch of other stuff on this continually growing channel. Love you to go and check that out. Anyways, I hope to see you out camping on my next excursion. Peace out, Scout.